In the tapestry of life, where every thread holds a story, America in Black and White emerges as a haven for the voices echoing through the heart of our communities. In this podcast, we wade through the rivers of our collective experiences, celebrating the vibrant hues of change brought forth by the whispers of hope and the roars of action. It's more than just a conversation. It's a journey into the heart of our society, illuminated by the light of those daring to dream and do. Join us, and let your voice be the melody that guides us toward a dawn where every color finds its place in the masterpiece of our shared destiny. Together, let's paint a future brimming with the positives that dwell in our minds and the actions that shape our world.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of America in Black and White, where we are coloring conversations on the canvas of America. Tonight, our special guest is Michelle Clarkson. Michelle Clarkson is a speaker, women's empowerment coach, and the CEO and founder of Meaningful Moments of Power, a movement dedicated to helping individuals unlock their confidence, communicate powerfully, and lead boldly. With over 25 years of leadership experience in corporate America, spanning sales, project management, global customer experience, and continuous improvement, Michelle brings both professional expertise and personal resilience to her work. Michelle is also a proud single mom of two adult children and grandmother of two amazing grandsons. She's passionate about pouring back into others the same way others poured into her when she had to rebuild her confidence and life. Her magnetic energy and authenticity are her gifts, allowing her to motivate and inspire others, unlike their power, and step fully into their purpose. After overcoming domestic abuse and divorce, Michelle transformed her own life by embracing self love, confidence, and purpose. She now empowers others to do the same, blending raw storytelling, practical tools, and humor to inspire audiences everywhere. Michelle's signature talks and coaching focuses on building unshakable confidence and setting boundaries, leading an authenticity and boldness in business and life, embracing transformation and stepping fully into your power. Her mission is simple but powerful, helping people show up as the best version of themselves because the world needs them. In this episode, Michelle Clarkson shares her journey from corporate leader to speaker and confidence coach, showing us how self love, bold communication, and living with intention can transform your own life. In this episode, she unpacks the keys to confidence, resilience, and leading with authenticity in every area of life. Get ready to unlock your power and step fully into your purpose. Ladies and gentlemen, Michelle Clarkson.
Hello.
Hello. How you doing, young lady?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I am just excellent. I'm glad that you're here.
Well, thank you for having me.
Is there anything you'd like to add to your bio?
Well, I mean, after that wonderful bio, I was like, who is he talking about? But no, you summed it up great.
Well, apparently, I guess everyone's ready for you because there's two comments already here in the chat.
Oh,
There's one from Lachelle Atkins, America's Supermom. She said, hey, with the hand clap. Looking forward to tonight's conversation. Let me just put that on the screen for you.
Well, thank you, Lachelle. She's one of my power partners. So, see, I love the support. We are always stronger together.
And there's another one here from Anita Newsom that's on the screen. It says, hello, everyone. Excited to be here and ready to join the talk.
Awesome. Another one of my power partners. Thank you, ladies, for being here and supporting.
So let's just dive in. And so Tell us, Michelle, before we dive deep, how would you describe your story in one word?
Powerful.
Wow, it's powerful. What's one moment from your childhood that still fuels your advocacy today?
Ooh, one moment from my childhood. Um, I would say not necessarily a moment, but something instilled in me from my childhood with affirmations. And my parents, one of the affirmations that my brother and I were raised on is yes, you can.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Yes.
When did you first realize your voice could move people?
I would say that a long time ago, because see, that's one of the things where you have to get out of your own way. I would say that I realized that my voice had meaning and power really at a young age. I would say when I was in college, the impact that I had with people, I have a way of just building rapport and establishing relationships. But then also being able to establish relationships, I've always been that person that people come to for advice in the workplace, the one that's always nominated to do mentoring and things like that. So at a young point in my life, I realized, okay, your voice has power and you need to use it. And then after going through things, it's like, okay, you need to use your voice. But I did.
Well, I can say this. From the conversations that you and I have had, I
Mhm.
can actually feel that power, that emotion, that resilience and those things in your voice. So when you saying, in your voice and you had to get your voice, so
Mhm.
like what kind of impact does your voice bring to you that you are giving to others?
So the impact that I would say my voice brings to me is it's that reminder and motivation of what I've overcome
Mhm.
and that I can accomplish anything. I
Right.
just need to make sure I have a strategy and plan in place, and there is nothing that I can't do. So my voice that I give to others is the same voice that I give to myself, and I'm just giving the same thing to them that I tell myself.
Mm. Oh wow. You know what's so powerful about that though?
Mhm.
Is that a lot of times when a lot of people don't realize that they're impactful, by being who they are and giving that voice of authenticity like you. So was there ever a point in time where in giving your voice that you kind of like would like just keep it at a certain point, or would you always just give it to them?
Well, let's keep it real. I didn't always use the voice. Remember, like I said, I didn't use the voice. So once I stepped into my power, and it was going through those things that I dealt with in life, having my self esteem shattered from being in a domestic abuse relationship, losing my confidence, then having to rebuild myself after that. And then after that, it's like, ooh, I found out how powerful I was. And it's like,
Yes.
okay, you have a voice to use and the confidence that I had in myself. And then, life goes along and life happens. Then I got married and got divorced. And so that same thing, it's like I'm in the same situation again where I'm broken, having to rebuild myself, my confidence. And, but once I reflected back on, okay, you've already been down this road before. So you know the things that you need to do. And at the end of the day, it's not even about the things that you need to do. It's you know who you are.
Mhm. Oh
You
wow.
know you're important and you have a voice to use. And so from there, that's when I was really able to use my voice and using my voice in a way, not just necessarily from a speaking aspect, but using my voice in a way that, oh, I can advocate for myself. I
Mhm.
can establish boundaries when I need to. I can give pushback when need to. But those were things that that other person that when she was going through things, I would shrink myself just to fit in spaces. And to your point, no, not use the voice. So,
Oh.
I think that those things that I went through,
Mhm.
they were things that nobody should have to deal with, but the best things that could have ever happened to me because I probably wouldn't be the person that you're talking to today.
Oh wow. Let's move over to your advocacy for women with the power, pain, and purpose.
Mhm.
What does advocacy for women look like in your day to day life?
So, advocacy for women in my day to day life is helping them to understand and realize the beauty that exists within them, the power that they have, and the most important thing is helping them to understand how important self love is. And it's not selfish, because if you don't have that self love, you can't pour into anything else, whether it's being a mother, a partner, spouse, or even on the job. So that would be the one thing, that I would say is really helping them to be able to embody those things. Because when you have the love for yourself, then that breeds the confidence. And then from confidence comes courage. And that just unlocks the door to all those things that you want to do. And with the confidence you have, you know that you can do those.
Oh wow. So like tell us about the combination of things that gave you motivated you to actually do this because you know every time I see or hear a beautiful black woman like yourself that's so strong and so powerful, her story and her motivation is like something that's different from anything that anyone could ever imagine. What was that motivation for you?
So I would say two things. One, like I said, the motivation of the dark periods that I experienced in my life. And when I was going through those periods, it was my faith in God that got me through them. But there were other women who were pouring into me that had experienced the same thing.
Okay.
So that was that inspiration that, okay, if they made a difference and they were able to change their life, okay, you can do this too. So that would be the first thing. And then I would say the second thing would be my family,
Mhm.
and specifically my late father. He is or was someone that, just as far as embodying like who you should be, how you should interact with people. And he, as we talk about getting it out the mud, he got it out the mud. He was from Gary, Indiana. He
Oh.
started off, okay, I see you like GI. Yes. So he started out as a janitor in the schools
Mhm.
and worked himself up into a corporate executive.
Okay.
So that resilience and strength that it takes to overcome things, to make sure that you are seen and visible, that was the example that was set for me my whole life.
Oh.
And when I started experiencing things, it's like, okay, this isn't who you are, Michelle. You're better than this. You know that you have something to bring to the world because of the example that your parents have set. And my mother is a very strong woman. I tell people all the time, like, I get it honestly.
Mhm.
But, just those things that were instilled in me. And at the end of the day, you can't be a blessing and be blessed unless you're blessing someone else. To have true success in life, you have to reach back and help somebody else along the journey and take them with you. And so that those two things together were really what helped me. And my father passed away in August of 2022. And after coming out of my domestic abuse relationship and going through therapy, one of the things that I used to always say and tell him was, I want to be able to help women, just like I've been helped. And he would encourage me all the time, you need to use your voice. You need to use your voice. And there were so many things that I experienced along the way, with being a single mom and after divorce and just the financial struggles. And yes, being a strong woman, there are a lot of struggles that my mother is just finding out that her daughter experienced in life because, one of the things in being strong is I didn't ask for a lot of help. But not saying that's the way that you should handle things because there is help available. But whether it was the pride, the guilt, the shame, I didn't ask for help. So a lot of the struggles that I experienced in life were things that I had to deal with on my own, whether it was financially, just mentally getting myself in the right headspace. So, all of those things coupled together helped me get to the point where it's like, you know what? Once he passed, there were no excuses. No more excuses. It is time to shine. You know who you are. You've been able to have success on your job, because along with being an entrepreneur, I am still part of corporate America, and I'm a director at a nutraceutical company, a director of continuous improvement. So, being very busy and knowing that I'm someone that I can handle a lot, it's like, no, use your voice, step into the space, get out of your way. And then my two power partners that are on here, they really help me as well. Brand myself, get myself out there, and make myself visible so I can be seen and help me with tips. So, and networking is really the key so that I can make a difference with other women, other people, to help them unlock and build their confidence.
There's another comment here from Anita. I'll put it on the screen for you. She says that I can really relate to what's this doing alone?
And not wanting to worry our families.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, that's just the thing. A lot of the struggles that I went through, and struggles, but overcoming everything. Okay. No weapon shall prosper. And,
Exactly.
so those things that I dealt with, and then being able to overcome them. Now, in the overcoming, nobody said it was easy, but I did the things, I did the work. And the main thing was my mindset,
Mhm.
having a positive mindset.
So, with the women that are watching today, what are some words of wisdom or encouragement you can give them if they're going through situations that you just mentioned?
Yes. So the first thing that I would say, for any woman that's going through a situation, and first, if it's a situation dealing with abuse, there's help available. And the one thing that you need to remember is love does not hurt.
Mhm.
Love is not controlling. That is not love. That is manipulation. So if you are someone who's in a situation like that, there's help available. I connect with me. I can make sure you get the help, but there is help available, and that is not a situation that anyone should have to be in. But if you are in a situation like that, the one thing, whether it's abuse, overcoming, setbacks from divorce, challenges that we have just with our own mind, because, there are things that we tell ourselves that really impact our ways of thinking. It could be financial struggles that you're having. I mean, we all live in this world today. But the one thing that I would tell the women that are listening today is that you are worthy, you are loved, and you are valued. And so, those three things right there are things that you need to continue to tell yourself every day. And those are things that will then help you to realize how important you really are. And when you say, I'm important, I tell myself every day, you are amazing.
Yes.
And
Uh,
so when you start doing those things, it makes a difference in how you perceive yourself and the situation that you may be in. So no matter what situation you're in today, it can change as long as you know that you want something different.
as you see, Anita just put another comment. She says, "You're amazing. It's been great working with you."
Say, Anita, I just love you.
Um, Nadine says, "Your mother is a new friend."
Oh, well, thank you for joining and supporting, Nadine.
And Nadine says this as well. I see where some of your strength came from. Keep it going.
So see, Nadine, she says she knows the mama.
And Michelle said the world needs you.
See, and that's my tagline. The world needs you. The world needs you, Charles. The world needs all of us. We all have gifts and something to give to the world. And that's what we should be focused on. How can we make a difference in the world? How can we make a difference in someone's life? It is so rewarding. I mean, every day I get so many comments on Facebook for little motivational videos that I do every morning. And I always end every video with, go be great because the world needs you.
Oh wow.
Yes.
Those are always wonderful affirmations. And I would have to I shouldn't say assume, but I know that from what you have come to be the woman that you are now, is that those affirmations have got to be the strength that you're giving to other folks. So as you're giving out all of these parts of you, does it ever drain you, or do you've just got plenty to go?
I just got plenty to go. I mean, this is me. I hit the ground running, and it's so funny that you said that because my son, this summer, he had the opportunity to have a 6 weeks internship at my job. So driving back and forth to work every day, it was so funny. One morning, he just looked over and he was like, "I mean, really? You have all this conversation this early in the morning? Hey, look, if God gives me a new day." I'm ready. As soon as the feet hit the ground, yes, this is what you get. But this is just me all the time. I've always been a positive, upbeat person. So to your question, no, it's not draining. But the one thing that I will say with giving myself to others and the comments and the feedbacks, just like some of the things that Anita has put on the screen and Michelle has said, I sometimes am taken back by some of the things that people say about me because while I think that I'm a great person and I know that, sometimes it's just like, wow, when you see that, it's like I really don't perceive myself in the way that others do. So that's always nice, but it's never draining because I know that I'm making a difference. And if I can just touch one person, then I've done my job, but I want to touch more than one person. And it was funny because earlier this year, I think it was towards the end of March, I had made a video and I said, I am shifting my focus and taking over the world. And, here we are, September 30th, and here she is on your podcast. I am not playing, okay? I am coming to make a difference and make my mark.
Okay, look here. You are definitely going to be one of the highlights of America in Black and White on this very last day of September. I'm going to tell you that because I'm sure that as people are watching this show, that your energy has got to be popping off the screen. It's got to be. And
Okay.
so this is what I'm talking about. This is when you say you're giving it, you're giving
I'm just being me.
it. How do you balance being a voice for others while protecting your own peace?
Well, it's easy for me because my mindset. I have trained myself in my mindset. One, staying positive, and also in giving to others. There's things that yes, I share. I put myself out there. I'm vulnerable in sharing my story, but then I'm also still a very private person. So in being a private person, that still allows me to be able to protect my peace because there I mean, just like I used the example of my mother finding out some of the things that I really struggle with. There's some girlfriends that I've had that have been really close that'll be like, I never knew that you dealt with all that. You would never know.
Mhm.
So just that mindset of those things that I want to share, sharing, and those things that I know I need to keep close to myself, keeping those things close and dealing with those things on my own. Because if I want to be able to help someone, I don't want to drain you with the things that I may be dealing with. Because trust me, I mean, I go through stuff too, I deal with stuff. But it's just that I've learned how to manage those things, I've learned how to deal with my stress. And so this that you see, I'm able to be this upbeat person all the time just because I've learned those coping mechanisms. But I also have that element of keeping things private so you don't have an opportunity to drain me.
Well, I got to tell you this. I got to ask you this question. Your resilience. Did the resilience, did that build as you was building yourself, or was that something that you added to your build on to get you to where you are now?
I would say I think that's something that I added to my build on because I've always been a resilient person and I think about things that I've endured just over my life. And I go back to my childhood. I was a chubby kid and being focused on losing weight and setting goals. That's something that I've been able to do and start doing at a young age. So when I was in high school, or it might have been middle school, my mother, challenged me. She was like, "Hey, um, I want to help you lose weight." And at the time, my father was a cigarette smoker. And he said, if you lose 20 pounds, I'll stop smoking. Oh, we're getting these cigarettes out the house. Okay. And I lost the 20 pounds. So, like I said, going back to that was in middle school. So, I've always been that results driven, goal oriented person, just very organized, um, very just everything has to be in order. So, those things that were instilled in me at a young age and things that I started doing were things that I just was able to add on to as things started happening in life that helped me to be able to establish goals, crush those goals, and then move on to the next thing.
Mhm. Um, we have this in the chat. It says every day you are on go.
Yes, yes, yes. I am on go at all times. Okay.
And happy National Podcast Day. Thank you so very kindly. I'm glad that you're here and you're enjoying this episode so far. Thank you.
And what a great honor to be with you on National Podcast Day.
Wow. You know something? I think that as we have platforms like this, but when we have guests like you know, everything is worth it. And what makes it worth it so is the messages, that guests like yourself are giving out to the audience, to people that are watching. Because I can guarantee you that there are some parts of what you're talking about, if not all, that more than resonates with some young lady out there or some young ladies out here that are watching and probably need to learn about the resilience and the strength that you have and how to go about that. That's the thing that makes me so happy because there's no show without a guest like you. And
Oh.
so that means more than everything to me.
Mhm.
Um, what's a myth about women's empowerment that you're determined to dismantle?
A myth about women's empowerment. Well, I think that um, a myth that might be tied to women's empowerment is around strong women.
Mhm.
There's nothing wrong with being a powerful, strong woman. So there's you know, not wanting to help someone be powerful. Because if you have a problem with a powerful woman, there's something in you that is intimidated by what I'm bringing to the table.
You know what? You know,
Hmm.
well, I'll just say it this way. A lot of egos can't handle that.
Yes.
And so that's just one of those things that, you're right. There's something there that, sometimes you just have to take a look, but there's nothing wrong with you being a strong woman,
Yeah.
you
And
know.
then also that stigma of confidence, like you're conceited. There's a difference in being conceited and confidence.
Mm.
Confidence is that mindset that you know who you are, the skills and abilities that you have, and you embrace that. Now, conceited, there's a different element to that. The one that's bragging, I just got to be on the scene and, step into the room, the loudest one. And surprisingly, when I step into the room, I don't even have to say anything.
Well, see, that's because you just got presence. And see, when you have presence, that's different. So it's like you can't, that's not taught, that's natural, that's you.
Mhm. I mean, you said it, I didn't know, but you're right. Yeah. And then also with that presence, the one thing, women, if you're listening, along with the presence, you have to be able to communicate. You have to be able to communicate in any room that you're in front of any audience. That is critical. But that communication and really learning effective communication skills comes from that self love, that self confidence. I remember times where I used to be in meetings and I would want to say something and I'd just be sitting there like, oh, no, I'm not going to say anything. Then somebody else will say something and I'm like, I should have said it. We even find that we shrink ourselves, even in a professional space sometimes. But once I got out of that, it's like, no, I'm going to use this voice, I'm going to speak up. And once I started doing that, that's really when my career started to change. The work that I did was great, but once I was able to put the voice with the work, that's when I really became visible and people knew, oh, this is who Michelle Clarkson is and this is what she can do.
So, can you share a time when speaking up came at a cost, but you did it anyway?
Yes, I would say, so as I stated, I am a director at a nutraceutical company, but for the past 20 years, I was at another company. And towards the end of what kind of made me step up and say, hey, it's time for me to leave, um, there were just some things that happened just as far as changes that started happening within the company. And then there was a performance review that I had, and the rating on the review did not align with the comments. So from there, I had to make sure that I had a conversation, advocating for myself and getting clarity around this rating does not align with these comments. And at the time, there were a lot of restructuring going on and roles that were being eliminated. And the one thing that I just had to, be honest about and put out there was, is my rating being set at this number so that my role can be the next one to be eliminated? And
Mm.
so it came at a cost from the standpoint of there were things that came from that with other people and but it was the best thing that happened for me because I stood up for myself and then another opportunity came from that, allowed me to relocate, allowed me to relocate my mother with myself here to Atlanta. So it was great, but it came at a cost of walking away from a company that I had been at for a long time and I was really invested in, but it was the best thing that I had to do for myself.
How do you navigate spaces that weren't built with women in mind?
Me, continue to be true to who you are, um, not being afraid, as I continue to say, using your voice. But I, in those spaces, you have to shine a little more. You have to work a little harder. You have to prove yourself. And I'm not proving myself because I'm just going to be like, oh, no, I'm proving myself in the work. My work is going to prove who I am. And so when you focus on doing the work, when you're in an environment like that, you can't be denied after a while. You can try to ignore this over here, but you're not going to keep taking credit for this presentation because you did not do this. So eventually you become visible. So in those situations where because it happens all the time, and there are people, I mean, there are women on here, they deal with it all the time, and I'm on here with you, Charles, but this is a male dominated world, whether you're in a professional arena in corporate space, if you're in an entrepreneurial space. So you have to really make yourself stand out. What is it about you? And like I said, a lot of times it's the work that you do and how you're able to deliver those results that make people give you the respect that you're due.
Okay, it's another few comments. That's to presence and um, allowing yourself in the statement. You said a mouthful,
Yes.
and this last one here is the evidence is in the results you get. So, what's your message to young girls watching this episode tonight?
Ooh, younger. Respect, sis, respect yourself. And in respecting yourself, it's in how you carry yourself, what you allow into your space, but also with that, because being young today, I said, it's really tough. I think about our young generation. It's really tough because one, the world that we're living in today, and then there's an element of respect that has just been lost. But being a woman, if you want people to respect you, you have to respect yourself. And that goes down to, how you carry yourself with your dress, how you talk, who you associate with. But along with those things, the one thing that I would tell a young female today is whatever you want to do, you can do it. Whoever you want to be, you can be her. You just have to have a plan in place, be focused, and willing to work hard to get to where you want to be. It's all about commitment and focus. And so that would be the main thing that I would say, the respect piece. But whatever it is, you can do it. Because I look back to my younger self and I'm blown away on the things that I've accomplished along the way.
So, how do you honor the women who came before you in your work?
Mm. Well, in honoring the women that came before me in my work is one, trying to embody myself in the same way that they did, which is really pouring back and being myself, but trying to make a difference in the women's lives. And then also making sure that when I'm giving my messages, there are a lot of affirmations and things that were said to me from the women that helped me along the way. And those are things that I'm still giving back to other people as I work with them, other women that I work with them. And one thing that I tell women, I tell the world all the time, which came from one of my biggest mentors who's no longer here with me, but it's just about excuses. Excuses are tools of incompetence, and those that specialize in them rarely specialize in anything at all. So when you start getting the excuses, or someone's giving me excuses, let's say from a coaching standpoint, I'm able just to ask questions back to someone, not telling them that they're giving me an excuse, but when you ask the question, you yourself have to stop and be like, oh wow, I'm just making this up. Yes. So, honoring them and making sure some of the words that they had instilled in me that made a difference, that I'm making sure to use those to make a difference with others as well.
Let's move over to your entrepreneurship and building with intention. What inspired you to become an entrepreneur?
I think just wanting to have control of what I'm doing. Still, like I said, being in corporate America, and I do have flexibility, but when you work for someone, there's certain things that you're not able to do. But when you're an entrepreneur, I can design how I want my business to run, when I'm going to run it, and exactly what I want to do. So just wanting to be in control, but then knowing the space that I wanted to be in, I knew that the work that I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it. So it's like this is your space as an entrepreneur, um, and just stepping into that. Once I was able to get out of my own way, but just stepping into that space.
So, can you tell us, was there a moment when you almost gave up? If so, what pulled you back?
A moment within my entrepreneurial journey, or just in life
Yep.
period.
Entrepreneur.
Entrepreneurial. Oh yes, absolutely. So when I was first getting started, um, the one thing was just that made me almost want to give up is not having anything happen. I felt like I was putting myself out there, I was doing the work, um, and not getting anything back in return. Not having clients or not getting speaking engagements. And I was almost ready to give up, but I continued to be consistent and move with intention every day, just continue to do the same things and started networking more. Hello, this is how I'm on this podcast, from, someone else that you've already had on your show. But, I really started being intentional about networking and connecting with other people and letting them know who I am and what I do. And then all of a sudden, like everything started happening. But it was tough through that period because it's like, is this what I should be doing? The doubts, letting the doubts creep in, but that only happened for a small moment. And then it's like, no, you have to keep going. And once I said, okay, let's keep going, and then everything just started happening and falling into place.
Well, this Anita left two more comments that she has to leave. She says she's got to go. She enjoyed the conversation. You rock, Michelle. Great information. And her last one is uh, work your plan and plan your work. Um, Still in your entrepreneurial journey here. How do you define success beyond profit?
Ooh. I would define that as being able to touch and impact someone. I think that we oftentimes put so much around success with a dollar value, and that's not always what success is. Success does not always have to equate to a dollar, but it's if you are making an impact in someone's life, an impact in your community, you are successful. And that has nothing to do with the dollar.
Michelle, as I asked that question, a lot of people equate success from a business perspective with a dollar. And I understand that perspective, but I don't always weigh, monetary value as to success because this is my opinion. You tell me what you think. Is I think that when it just comes to success, even if you had the opportunity or you had the will or the wherewithal to start that business and you're working on that and your plan, you are successful. You get your first client if you're doing services. That is successful.
Absolutely.
I think for people to say that you need to have all this money just dropping on you out the sky and that makes you successful, that's a false premise.
Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, if that's what you really are determining your success on, then you won't be successful because there's so many other things that fall into play. Just like you said, if you're able to, have one client, you're successful. And I always tell people all the time, hey, before that nail tech had one client, she had none. Before
Exactly.
a hairdresser had a client, there were none. So to your point, you're right. That's where the success lies. And for me, I didn't get into this for the money. I got into it because I want to help someone else. And I know in those dark periods of my life how broken I felt, the self esteem, doubting myself, not loving myself. And in those periods when you're broken, there are things that you accept in your life that once you come to life, you're like, what was I thinking and what was I doing? So that for me, I just want to help another woman so that she does not have to experience those same things. And that doesn't always have to come with a dollar. It
Right.
could just be one word that I drop on her that makes the difference and changes her whole life around.
You So, what's the most underestimated skill every entrepreneur needs?
Ooh, underestimated skill. Time management. Time management. And
Oh,
even if you aren't someone like me who's doing dual and you're just okay, you have that solo, it's the time management. Because
mhm.
when you're an entrepreneur, you're in control of everything. So you have to be focused and be able to manage your time and stay organized so that you're on track and you can accomplish the goals that you have. But it's when you're an entrepreneur, there's so many things that can come your way. It's like, oh, yes, I'll do this, I'll do that. And then that may lead to burnout. So time management, I would say, is one of those underrated skills that you have to have as an entrepreneur.
I'll just say to you before I move to the next question, you're absolutely right. Because I tell you, as organized as I am, or I try to be, my time management is off because I'm like, I got all of this going on. I ain't got enough time. 24 hours just don't do it for me.
Which say you need two trials.
Oh, yeah. Yes. How do you build teams that reflect your values?
One, um, to build. teams that reflect my value, I have to share what my value is. So that means that I have to be my authentic self and allow those teams to know who I am so that they can embody those things that I feel are important. But also, really, in being able to build a strong team to value the things that I value is you have to get to know your team. You have to learn your team, know how you can help them. And then once you know how you can help them, then it's easier for you to have them, you know, have that mindset of, I'm going to follow the things that you're saying and, get on board with the program. But the most important thing too is you have to know your people.
Well, you got another comment here from Nadine. I'll put it on the screen. She says, "Yes, helping others is the way to go."
Yes.
Um, so, can you tell us what's your approach to failure, especially when the stakes are high?
Well, failure is not an option. So that's that's a question where I don't know if I can answer that. Because no, that is my mindset. Failure is not an option.
Right.
So, um, but you fail forward sometimes, and if you fail forward, you get up and you keep going. So that's just my whole approach. Failure is not an option, but sometimes things don't go as planned, and then you have to reset, refocus, and let's get back to it again. Because, like I said, failure is not an option.
How do you stay rooted in purpose while scaling your business?
Well, I say, really, one, staying rooted is my faith. Um, that is the main thing because I feel that God has given me these gifts. Um, and in the space that I am, you have placed me here to make a difference. So just staying focused on my faith as I'm working my business and scaling everything would be the main thing that I would say that keeps me rooted. But then also going back to that whole intention of just wanting to make a difference in people's lives.
So, tell us what legacy are you building through your entrepreneurial work?
The legacy that I'm building is I'm building a legacy where I want women to feel empowered and to know how powerful they are, but building a legacy, whether you're a woman, whether you're a man, but building a legacy where people understand that positivity, your mindset, confidence are the keys that will unlock everything that you need in life. Building a legacy of making sure that you treat people how you want to be treated because it has so much to do with the type of success that you have in anything that you're trying to do. But for the most part, as well as building that legacy from those things, but building a legacy for my children to have someone to look up to embody, to know that, okay, this is how things should be. Going back to my son and his internship, he came through the door and he just graduated with an accounting degree, but the internship was in the HR department, something that he had no experience in, but he was able to come in, step in, and be great. But he had also had an example set for him and was able to watch me for so long, even in the corporate space, coming into the office for me, so that, okay, hey, you've been given this opportunity. He knew exactly what he needed to do.
Mhm. Oh, wow. I think that's always the best thing in the world when you do have that opportunity beforehand when going into certain situations. A lot of a lot of our kids don't have opportunities like that. And I think it's very fortunate that your son was able to take that and just run with it and make it his own.
Mhm. Yeah, and it was a great experience for him, and so now that he's gone back to school and he started his master's program, and me this summer, I was like, okay, yeah, when you go back to school and you're doing your master's, I said, you can probably just get a job at Kroger or something. He was like, what? No, I just graduated and got this degree, and so taking the initiative. But he's also a student athlete. So he's also a baseball player. So he has his last year of eligibility that he's playing baseball. So you're a busy person. So he's going back to that time management. But he's like, no, I'm going to find a job in my field so I can be getting experience. So when this 2 year program is over and I have my master's, I already have experience in my field or at a company that I'm just going to continue at. And he starts on the 16th at an investment firm. I'm like, okay, look at you.
Wow. What's one lesson you wish someone had told you before you started your entrepreneurial journey?
Um, I, I think maybe the point of that it takes time, and you have to crawl before you walk.
Mhm.
And coming into an entrepreneurial space where someone like myself who was used to always excelling in any professional arena that I've been in. Not to say that I'm not excelling in this arena, but like I said, you have to crawl before you walk, and it just doesn't happen overnight. Because I think that that's why a lot of people that step into the entrepreneurial space they give up so quickly. They don't see the results that they want in the time period that they expect, and so they just give up. So I think that that would be the one thing that going into this that I would have been given the heads up, okay, hey, there's going to be a period where you're like, nothing seems to be working, but you just got to keep working through that because you will get to where you want to be.
So, how do you mentor other women stepping into entrepreneurship?
Hmm. Stepping into entrepreneurship, one of the things as far as in mentoring other women is what is the clear goal? Making sure that they have a strategy in place, um, one that they're organized. But I think the main thing in mentoring them and helping them in their entrepreneurial journey is what is the end result?
Mhm.
So if you know what your end result that you're after, then you can make sure that you have a clear strategy in place that's going to get you to where you want to be. I think so many times a lot of people just jump into things without a strategy, or we make moves and we don't have a plan in place. Someone says, "Oh, I'm an entrepreneur," and they quit their job. Who are you working with? you know, who are your clients? So, just pouring into them to know that yes, you can be anything on this entrepreneurial journey, but sis, you need to have a clear plan in place on how you're going to get
That does sound. You have to be really confident to do something like that. And I'll tell you that I did that.
there. That confidence, but it worked out apparently.
Yes, yes. I got fed up with the workplace. I walked in one day. Here you go, all your stuff.
Oh, so you
Yeah.
fed up, like I'm out.
The email, the resignation, printed it out, gave it to him in the hands, kept my copies. Here's your stuff. Do your inventory. Let me go.
And and they were like, but here you are.
Yes, ma'am. Let's move over to your work here in community engagement grounded in the people. What does community mean to you, not just the theory, but in practice?
Community to me means one, building a space where you're around people that you connect with. Um, and and it doesn't have to necessarily be someone that's just like me, or a woman, man, someone that looks like me, but being able to be in a space where in that community there is connection, and we're able to connect and we have the same purpose, and we're all on the same mission to do something. So, and I'll use it as an example, like Anita and Lachelle that on the beginning that made their comments, my power partners. So building that community with them in the entrepreneurial space. I also have a fitness center, and it's an all women's fitness center that I'm a part of. That is my community of women as well. So, being able to be connected to something. That's what community means to me. I think about my social media com- community, the people that every day that are making comments and having conversations back and forth with me as I'm pouring into them. That's what community to me is. Building something where you have that connectivity, where you're able to make an impact within that community.
Mhm. You know, the one thing that I've got to tell you is that, when we first chatted, I want to tell you, and just listening to you now, Vice, when we actually had the phone conversations, you're inspiring. And, for what my goals are, as far as building communities and so forth, and just learning, who you were and the work that you're doing was so inspiring that I'm more than just excited to have you here because we got to have you back, of course. But I mean, that's inspiring because we've got so many people that come from our communities, especially those that are left so underserved, and marginalized, and that there's a lot of people that just don't take the time to go back and give back
Mhm.
because that's what's so important. But just when we just think about, just as I just think about what you're saying and the stuff that you're doing, that's inspiring. And see, I think if more people actually got out and did that real deed and connected with the real people in the community, we would see so much big of a difference. I mean,
Oh,
it would really be impactful.
because everyone has a story. And that's the thing, and when you talk about our communities as well, everyone has a story. Um, and we can all make a difference with others, but they need to be able to see and
Yes.
hear the story. Just like what you just shared. It's like, okay, yes, you can get fed up because things aren't right. And it's like, no, I am not going to tolerate this,
Mhm.
but I had a plan in place and this is what happened. And look at me now.
Yes.
So giving them hope. You have to be able to tell your story. And I also think that as well within our community, sometimes we're afraid to be vulnerable and
Mhm.
talk about the things that we've been through because you don't want people to know. Well, how can you help someone if you don't let them know? So
Yep. So, can you tell us how do you ensure your work uplifts rather than extracts from the communities you serve?
mm, that's a good one. So the one thing that I would say is making sure that in the messaging that I'm giving to people, that it is something that is motivating, uplifting, and inspiring, but also making sure that I'm always tying it back to being vulnerable and transparent and giving real life examples of what I've dealt with or how I've helped someone that's dealt with the same thing so that they know that, okay, this is the real deal. This is you're being authentic and being true to the message that you're putting out. That, okay, yes, like you said, it's inspiring, but is it real and authentic? And it is. And I think that people see that every day in my messaging. And a lot of times it's the same premise and the same focus around the message. It's just a different message every day, but then a different spin to it because you can motivate someone every day. Going back to my son playing baseball, I've been a coach for a long time. Okay, my daughter she plays sports. I have been a coach for a long time, and
Sure.
I played sports when I was younger.
Okay.
So just having that, there's no I in team mentality.
Yep. Um, what's one initiative you're most proud of?
One initiative that I'm most proud of. I would say, that's that I'm most proud of. Really, my business. And now I'm thinking about what is it? My business.
Mhm.
This initiative, this that I'm doing, is what I'm most proud of because just like when you were giving the intro, this
Mhm.
is a movement.
Yes.
This is a movement.
Mhm.
Yes, I am a motivational speaker. Yes, I'm a confidence coach, women's empowerment coach, but this is a movement.
Mhm.
And when you step into this community and you get on board, the messages that I'm conveying, the focus of transforming your mindset, you step into that and you join the movement and you start walking around telling other people the world needs you.
Okay.
So that would be, as I stopped and said, what is the thing? But this would be the thing that, the initiative that I'm most proud about, um, is what I'm doing today and how I'm making a difference for others.
Okay. Are you back?
Yes.
Okay. We had an issue there where it said we lost connection.
Mhm.
How do you handle criticism or pushback from within the community?
Well, I mean, we all need criticism at some point, but I haven't faced a lot of criticism with what I'm doing right now. So, but there is, I would say, not necessarily the pushback, but just that who does she think she is? Like, to your point, you can't be this upbeat and all that all the time, but I really am. So that is one thing that um, trying to get people to understand that this is how I am all the time, and you can be like this as well.
Mhm.
And there is joy and peace in having the mindset that I have because really, I don't have drama, I don't have stress in my life because my mindset does not allow me to entertain that stuff.
So,
I send you on your way. Okay. Bye bye. So that, you know, and the criticism doesn't come because I don't feel that I'm putting things out here in a negative light. What are you upset about? Because I'm trying to motivate you? Because I'm bringing some positivity and light to someone and encouraging someone, making them believe in themselves because I believe in you. And I say that to people that I don't even know because we all have gifts. So yes, I believe in you. So one, not allowing those things to get to me, but and when there is pushback, okay, well, good day.
mhm. What role does storytelling play in your engagement work?
Oh, it's everything. It's everything because that's how you're really able to connect with people is through storytelling, and giving those examples and painting the picture so that people can fall into the story of the message that you're giving. So storytelling is everything because it paints the picture, it makes it real, and it allows people to really connect with the message you're putting out there.
How do you build trust across generations?
Honesty and transparency, just keeping it real.
Mhm.
I am the cool auntie. Everyone wants to be around me, the cool cousin, the cool friend, the friend that comes around other people's friends and they want to be my friend. So, just keeping it real, being honest and transparent with people.
What's your approach to collaboration with grassroots leaders?
Mm. Well, the approach to that is just being able to collaborate with them on whatever mission that they're focused on. But one, making sure that I'm aligned to the mission. So that's the first thing. Just because they're a grassroots leader doesn't mean that you're going to be aligned to everything someone's doing. But making sure that I'm aligned to whatever that is, and just being able to collaborate and network with them.
So, how do you measure impact when the results aren't always visible?
Mm. One way of measuring impact when the results really aren't there is you have to step back and kind of do an assessment of those other things that are happening outside of whatever that result that you're after. So it might be monetary, like we were saying, as far as that aspect of success. But are people following along every day? Are they engaging with the message that you might be putting out there from a social media standpoint? So you may have made some calls and you got some no's, but then you went and you pulled up your phone and you see all these comments of people commenting on the message of inspiration and motivation that you put out there. So, and I'm just using myself as an example. So that's like, oh, we're going to keep going. So that's the thing. And in anything, you have to be able to look at the bigger picture, and not focus sometimes on those small things that may be popping out that make you question things or give us doubt, but just look at the big picture overall. And then also sometimes when those things are happening, you also have to look back to some of those things that you've accomplished before, and in those accomplishments, it wasn't always easy. You had those same periods that you might be experiencing. So a lot of times I go back to that, and then that gives me the fuel to keep on going because, as I said before, failure is not an option. So, how do we need to change the plan, the strategy to make sure we get to the end result?
Wow. What's one community moment that changed you forever?
Mm. Well, for me, I would say um, growing up, I had the opportunity just because of, the life that was set for me, with my family, and my father working hard, just to be in different spaces. And I would say the one thing for me in that regard is no matter where I am and who I'm around within the community, that not being afraid to be myself because of who I am, and being a minority woman, but embracing that and just being being true to who I am and not shying away from being the person that I am. Um, Not being afraid to use this voice and stand out no matter where I am.
Yes.
And shocking you sometimes when you hear the voice that might be behind a phone or whatever, but then when you see the face, it's like, yep, it's me. And not being ashamed of being that person.
Right. How do you keep hope alive in spaces that have been historically neglected?
Mhm. Shedding the light, in those spaces where it's like that, one, giving that hope and inspiration that, okay, hey, this isn't how things always have to be for us, but um, just knowing that a situation may be one way one day, that does not mean that it has to remain that way. And being able to drop those nuggets in so that someone else understands that, okay, this might be how it is right now, but it can change. We can change.
So when I called you and I let you know that we do Black History 365.
Mhm.
I asked you who were the most inspirational or influential people in your life and your career. You said Michelle Obama and Maya Angelou. Can you tell us why do Michelle Obama and Maya Angelou resonate so deeply with you?
Yes. So I'll start with Maya first, because Maya resonates so deeply with me in the fact that, you know, she was writer, speaker, and she used her voice to make a difference in the things that she was putting out there, things that stick with people. I'm all big on affirmations, and, one that so many people know, but may not know that it goes back to her. When people show you who they are, believe them.
Yep.
So she's one, and then Michelle. I use her because I think about the power that she just exudes, being who she is, stepping into the room. She's so intelligent, and the education that she's had, and the career that she built for herself before, becoming a first lady, and having that power, but still being a strong woman grounded in the mother that she was, and setting the example of I can be anything, I can be smart, I can be a mother, and I can look good while doing it.
Okay, because she was doing all that.
I think when she came on the scene, everybody was like, "Oh yes, let me put these arms out and have this sleep."
She
Like
was
yes,
doing all that. I'm
yes,
like, ooh, okay, okay,
mhm,
first lady.
okay,
And
yes,
and being the most loved one at that.
yes, yes.
What's a quote or moment from Maya Angelou that lives in your spirit?
Well, see, the one that I just said is
Mhm.
the one that lives in my spirit because I tie that back to a lot of things that I dealt with. And also today, in being able to recognize when I need to walk away from situations and when I'm not valued. Because when people show you who they are, you have to believe them. And sometimes we give people too many chances when
Mhm.
they've already shown us who they are, and we just make situations worse for ourselves. When
Yes.
if you would have just paid attention to the first time when those horns were raised and walked away, the situation would not have existed. So, that is and which is why I used it before, but yeah, that is my mantra. And that is something that I say all the time. And even in my coaching, when I'm working with women who are dealing with situations, that's the one thing that I tell them all the time, because just like a dog that bites, he's going to bite again. Dogs that bite don't just bite one person, then say, oh, I'm not going to bite. They bite. So, when someone has shown you who they are, believe them and leave them where they are.
Ooh, okay. Look, let me do this. Let me do that. Because you couldn't have said that no better. And I just hope that the world heard that.
And felt it.
Yes.
Leave them where they are. Okay. Yes.
How has Michelle Obama's journey shaped your own leadership style?
Mm. Well, one of the things in shaping my leadership style, that kind of mirrors her is using the voice,
Mm.
using your voice. And, I say that so much, using your voice. Okay, but using your voice how? However you can, and
Mhm.
in whatever space that you can to make a difference.
Mhm.
Um, And the one thing with Michelle in using her voice is the way that she has used her voice to uplift and amplify other women. So it's like that's what you're doing as well, Michelle. See? So, using that voice to make a difference and amplify other women, giving them something to look at to be like, oh, wow, you know, I want to be like that. Or I want to be able to step up to a podium and command a room, or walk into a room and command the room just being who I am.
Yeah.
So I would say for me, that's just the biggest thing from her because she's bad.
What do these two women teach us about grace under pressure?
Ooh, they a lot. So grace under pressure, and I'll use Michelle. Um, you know, going back to when they were still in the White House,
Mhm.
okay? If that was not an example of grace under pressure, because she was able to use her voice and make an impact, but then she also had to deal with being torn down by people who were intimidated by her power, but she never stooped to their level, okay? Because we don't go low.
Yep. You know something? I gotta, as you say that, and the thing that I will always remember about Michelle Obama, even to this day, is I love to hear her speak because when she speak, if you are not understanding the message and the words that she used, then you have a problem
Yes.
because she has a message
Mhm.
every time
Every time.
without fail.
Yes.
She has a message.
It's like they used to say in church, break it down and make it plain. Yes, she
She
can
has
just
a
make
message.
it plain. Yes, yes, every time. And an impactful message
Yes.
every time, no matter what she's talking about. Even when it was about food and nutrition, it was
Yes.
impactful.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you can ask either of these women one question, what would it be?
How they were able, or when they knew that they had this gift and that they, were going to make a difference in the world. Because I think that people that are out here doing things, we all have this moment. I'm sure you've had it where you step back and you realize, okay, I really am someone. I'm not saying someone in just, oh, I think I'm that, but someone that's making a difference in the world. What was it and when did you know that you had that in you
Mhm.
and how you were going to be able to use that to make a difference and impact the world?
Mm. Um, how do you carry either? How do you carry their influence into your daily decisions?
Mm. So you kind of going back to the grace, um, you know, not allowing the outside things to get to me, kind of like your question about criticism. I really, now in a work setting, like if it's a performance review or something like that, being able to take that, but I don't get a lot of criticism that I get. So, just being able to be the person that you are, um, and 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 use that so that it empowers others.
What's your personal definition of Black excellence?
Mm. My personal definition of Black excellence is one, staying true to who you are as a Black person, being you, but also in that striving to achieve and to have more and make a difference in the world. And the Black excellence in how you carry yourself, the circles that you associate yourself in, the places that you go, but more so, like I said, how you're going to make an impact so that others will be able to know, okay, that's Black excellence, and that's what I'm striving for.
How do you want your name to be remembered in the lineage of Black women who lead?
To be remembered as a strong woman that was powerful and made a difference in other women by motivating and inspiring, but using her voice. And she was an excellent communicator, being able to communicate, um, to make that difference. And know that all I wanted to do was make a difference for others so that they can have peace, success, to be able to live boldly and make a big impact. And so that's what I would want, my lineage and for my legacy and everything to be known for.
So, so as we were speaking on not just Black excellence, but Black legacies, uh, uh, just Black history in general, and all of those things that you do, are you able to wrap all of this power into one ball and just make it work space by space by space by space, or do you take some of it away?
I would probably say space by space by space by space. If I really had to be honest about it, um, because we step in so many different spaces and
Right.
are doing so much. So yes, it would have to be just space by space by space.
Mm. Well, in closing, so I just want to tell you, because I was intending on connecting with you before the show. Today is Debt Ceiling Day. Where we're gonna find out if they're gonna close government down or not.
You know the countdown.
And
Yeah.
so, I've decided it's impromptu, but I'm gonna come back on at 10, and I'm actually going to cover that.
Because I was gonna say, what time is the vote?
Well, actually, this is like an ongoing thing now because we of course they got up to midnight.
Yeah.
But just to see how that turns out, and I don't know how that sits with you because
Oh, huge. I mean, you can't take people's healthcare away.
right.
What? Yeah, it's huge. Yeah.
Yeah, so just in that and just thinking about between Republicans and Democrats and this situation as a whole,
Mhm.
what do you think um, is going to happen, or what would you like to see happen?
Well, one, what do I think is going to happen? To
Mhm.
be honest, I think that we are headed for the shutdown. And
Okay.
why do I say that? Because before getting on the call, which I know that it's always the 11th hour where things can happen,
Hmm.
just what was being said on the other side from the Republicans, they're not willing to bend. The Democrats aren't willing to bend as well unless there are, the changes as far as making sure the health care is in place. So, and because of some of the messaging that's being put out there around everything, which some of it not being true around the healthcare, I think that that is one of the reasons why we're going to go to the shutdown because the Democrats said they're not going to bend, the Republicans said they're not going to either. So,
Well, I'm going to say this, and of course, when I come back on, I'll say this again. This, I think, if it did shut down, would be the best thing that could ever happen. I say that because the occupier of Pennsylvania Avenue
mhm.
is already running roughshod over the government, regardless of the case. And these folk are not willing to step in and do what they need to do. If they're going to shut him down, they need to shut the government down. And if they shut the government down and they are really, really truthful about that and they really mean it, and not say, oh, well, we're going to be soft about it, we're going to come back tomorrow and we're going to say we're going to renegotiate, shut it down.
Mhm.
If they shut it down, we'll have a democracy going forward. If they don't shut it down and they fund all that stuff that they're doing that people are already feeling the crunch on anyway, then there won't be a democracy.
Mhm.
There won't be a democracy. But
Yeah.
see, that's one of those things that we said earlier. When you mess around and find out when people tell you who they are and what they're gonna do, and now
Michelle?
you see it.
Hmm.
And then, oh, that's not what he said he was gonna do. Get out of here. Where do those people come from with that?
Well, look, again, when they show you who they are, believe them. Like, I don't know where, and then that's the thing. It's the messaging today in the world that we have where you don't know what's real, what's fake. And I think that that's also what's causing all of the issues that we have, all the division, um, because you don't know what's real, what to believe. That's why, you have to stay on your stuff. You have to know the facts yourself. You have to be engaged. And for people who are not aware what's going on right now in the world, shame on you because there's a lot that's happening that can impact a lot of people in a negative way.
And think about it. People are already being impacted. We're not even a whole year through this. And already more than half this country is already impacted by the things that are happening. Where else can you find people purposely in the open stealing money from the government, from us, the taxpayers, misappropriating money and putting it in places that it don't supposed to go, and then putting unqualified people in places that they ain't never been and they don't know what the hell they're doing?
Okay.
And the only thing we get is problems because they're causing this chaos and disorder for the top 1% to pit all of us that's not in that 1%, pitting black against white, this race war that they're talking about. This is what it's stinting to. These are the people that's creating that.
But it doesn't even have to be that, and it's only that because of the messaging. It's not a race war. I mean, nobody.
Exactly.
It's not a race war. It's not a civil war. Nobody wants those things, and that's why
Yeah.
you have to know the facts so
Yes.
that when things are put out there, you're like, no.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, but to be like an ostrich and stick your head in the sand, this ain't no time for that. This is real. And I think now, messing around and finding out now is too late.
Yeah.
It's too late. But again, I think the only way they're gonna stop this man is to actually shut the government down. And I hope that if Democrats do that, then I'm like, now I can say, okay, kudos, y'all got some.
Yeah, I think you need to come back on later because it's going to be something. I think it's, going to go down to the wire, but I don't see either side budging. So,
yeah, I'm going to come back and I'm going to do an impromptu 10 o'clock special because that is something I think is more than just important, but it deserves, to be talked about. And like I said, I didn't know, if that was something that you wanted to engage in because I was going to ask you that. Because, I think that this is really, really serious. And now this is me, and this is my opinion, so I want to make sure people understand this. These are my opinions. I will say, if we're going to save this democracy, I need them to shut down the government because I don't need them funding nothing else that these folk are doing to try and make this country all white. I don't want them doing none of that because all this deportations, the things that they're doing, I can understand people may be upset about illegal immigration. I can understand that because we know that not all these folk are documented. So, I mean, that's just the real part of that. But to get to the point that you're actually deporting citizens, I mean, come on now, that's crazy. They got politicians.
Not a criminal.
Huh?
Yeah. And I said, and everyone's not a criminal. So,
right.
Yes.
And they just locking people up and deporting them and sending them to God knows where. I mean, like, you from Venezuela and they throw you on a plane and they send you way over to Turkey somewhere. Like, where does that come from? But who are these people that's making these deals to say, okay, you can drop people off here?
Well, And what's the exchange, though?
See, that's the thing. That's the thing.
Yes. What's the exchange? And then at what cost to the American people?
But, it's a shame that, we're finding ourselves wrapped up into this where there's 10% of folk that look like you and I that decided that that was the best thing to do. And see, I'm sorry, but they don't mess around and found out too. You ain't top 1%. So you're affected.
And the truth, the thing though, everyone is going to be affected. And that's just the thing, that I don't think that people realize about all of the stuff that's going on right now. Like everyone's going to be affected. I mean, we've already been affected by some of the things that have already happened, but everyone will be impacted. And if it's not you personally, it will be someone that you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, that's the thing.
Well, so as we wrap up this wonderful episode, do you have some words of wisdom and encouragement for our audience? How they can connect with you on social media, your websites, all of those good things, how can they reach you?
So you can connect with me on social media, on LinkedIn, Facebook, Michelle Clarkson. Um, my Instagram is Michelle underscore Clarkson, and then my website is Meaningful Moments of Power. And the one thing that I would just say, as we close this out today, one, it's been such an honor to be on your podcast today. Like I said, on National Podcast Day, I get to be on here. So just such an honor. But then also, just to the listeners and everyone, you all have gifts. We all have gifts. We all have something to give to the world. And if you don't know what those gifts are, I encourage you to find them. If you're someone that's struggling with something, just know that things can and they will get better if you do the work to make them get better. And the only way that will happen is the self love, believing in yourself, and having confidence to do the right thing because, like I said before, you are loved, you are worthy, you are valued, and the world needs you.
Oh, wow. Well, I want to thank you for being here tonight because that's really, really wonderful to have, again, another great guest that's making an impact, not just where you are in your workspace, but in your entrepreneur journey as well as in the community. These are the things that we need to do, we focus on, and we make it happen. Oh, wait a minute before we go. There was three things here in the chat here from Lachelle, and she was loving our discussion. It's on the screen now. She says, "Love that. Let's talk about it."
Yeah. Yes, and look, and that's the name of one of her podcasts. So say yes, let's talk about it. Mhm.
And then said, "Yes, the only thing we can change is a diaper, not people."
Boom. Okay, now that's one right there.
And her last one here is, yes, when we use our voice, we speak life to ourselves and others. Great. And so, as to say, for you guys that are watching tonight, what we learned from Michelle is that, resilience, strength, that's all within you, the individual. It's up to you to use it, to pull it out, and to make it be what you want it to be. You're able to forge that path, that journey, that creation, and make it what you want it to be. Success, as we mentioned earlier, is what you consider success to be. Success is not something that's necessarily monetized. So, being existent today and being that great person that you are and reaching back and helping others is successful. Let's all get together and let's work together as one to make things work the way they are supposed to in all of our communities around this country. I want to thank you, Michelle, for being here. I want to thank everybody that was out there watching. For those of you that are watching on each and every last one of the channels that we stream on, especially the YouTube channels, if you have not yet subscribed and enabled all the notifications to the channel, please do so. I would appreciate your support if you did that. And also, as we said earlier, I will be back doing a 10 o'clock special on the government shutdown. And so once we get to that part, then we'll be talking about another thing, which will be about these political issues that are affecting each and every individual, but also the importance as to what the shutdown could mean for each and every individual around this country. So please join us later here in a couple of hours here on American Black and White, where we will continue to color conversations on the canvas of America. I want to thank you, Michelle. We'll have you back. And I am definitely looking forward to this 10 o'clock hour. You all have a great evening, and we'll see you.